our journey at Hirschbach, most of you know that, it's been a story of a lot of growth over a relatively short period of time. Initially, a lot of organic growth, and I can remember, starting to sound old when I say things like that, I guess, but still hard to believe I just turned 55 here a few weeks ago. But anyway, in 2018, that was a really pivotal, exciting year at Hirschbach. We doubled in size organically from 900 to 1,800 trucks, and driver retention was really impressive during that time. We were in the low 60s. I think it was 62% for the entire year, and which is obviously in our industry a really good result.
Phenomenal number.
But similar to what you said, we saw it 2019. It drifted in the 70s. COVID happens 2020. And really, for whatever reason, we just sort of, the driver retention that was a real strength of ours got to a point where things just weren't where they should be. And, I asked Richard to continue on, kind of our journey together. I asked him if, he and his organization would come in and help us facilitate a conversation really within the organization as to, kind of what can we do? We are where we are, and we've lost some of the momentum and mojo around driver retention. How do we, let's refocus and let's get it back. And so we started with that, and Richard got to know the organization pretty well, and they got to know him through that process. And I was really impressed with particularly Richard and Darren, who's been working with you as an important partner for many, many years.
Yep.
With the process for having that discussion. A very detailed process, you can describe it better than I can, but lots of different people. We had drivers that were involved. We had driver leaders. We had people from planners. We had payroll. We had HR, customer service. It was kind of just a maintenance. I think it was just a wide cross-section of people throughout the organization that really Richard and Darren organized into a group to talk about this issue. And I guess really, that was the start of this journey together, I think, and taking this next step.
Very much so, and you ought to share where we were and kind of where we're at today. We've improved retention in a major way, right?
We really have, and I want to talk about that because, as a trucking company, it all starts there, right?
Yep.
It all starts with the driver. Again, that's the infantry that we're asking to take the hill. We've got to have a strong infantry that believes in the mission and wants to be here and wants to do it the right way. And so you really got to make sure. To me, that's kind of the vital sign within a trucking industry, within a trucking company, is how healthy is that relationship with the drivers.
Yeah.
And in terms of talking about it a little bit, we started on this journey together, and it's kind of a similar story to really, I think, the story that you were just describing at Swift in 2007, when you're coming in as the CEO and you recognize, hey, driver retention isn't where it should be and where you want it to be. And I think we were in that place as well. So we started through this process, and oftentimes you come away with a meeting like that, and there's all these great ideas, and everyone's all jazzed up and fired up, but then it's like, then people get back to doing their normal jobs, and then things just sort of stop. Right? Maybe some things get done, but using the football analogy, you're all jazzed up about it, and you start moving the ball down the field a little bit, and I don't know, life takes over, and this, that, and the other thing, and you don't quite get it punched into the end zone all the way, right?
Right.
So what was unique and different about this is we actually came out of there with a blueprint, really, a plan.
That's right.
And it was goals, but it was also what actions we're going to take. I know, you and Darren call them countermeasures.
Yep.
But these are the the initiatives that are going to be done in order to accomplish this overall goal. And in fact, you use a football field and you take these initiatives and prioritize them and hey, we put them on the field and people are accountable and we start moving them down the field. And it's kind of like eating that elephant. You can't do it in one bite. You got to do it a bite at a time. And I think each of these initiatives are different bites at it, and eventually you work your way through, and all of a sudden you look up and you're in a different place.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
That's right.
So Richard was still in a consultant role at that point, and that lasted for probably what, I don't know, 3, 4,
yeah,
5,
probably 6 months.
6 months. And along the way, I'll just tell you, to finish this about Richard being here, along the way, I saw Richard's engagement with the organization. I had people that were working as part of this team that unsolicited would come up to me and tell me how much of a pleasure it was to really work with you and Darren. And while these guys really know what they're talking about, but they're really listening to us at the same time. They're spending a lot more time listening to us and facilitating the conversation, but I know they really know what they're talking about, type of thing was. And they're really good people. I kept hearing they're really good people. They're really good people. That was the feedback I kept getting from all sorts of different people that were interacting with you and your team.
Well, appreciate that, and I tell you, the pleasure was ours. This organization, Brad, the people are the reason why we're here today. Yeah. Great people, humble, willing to learn, want to win, love the driver, consider the driver a priceless gem, and want to succeed together. That's what we really fell in love with. The culture, the fun that you all have, accepting new ideas and new people in is another strength I see in this organization, and that comes from leadership. So Darren and I and TJ had a ball.
Well, we're thrilled to have you a part of the organization, and so I quickly realized here we were, all of a sudden we're no longer a 400 truck fleet. All of a sudden we're over 3,000 trucks and over $1 billion in revenue with the acquisition of JCT, and it's become a big organization. And I've always said how important the quality is over the quantity, and that's the case. We can be the best in what we do, and we could also be a very large organization. And so I asked Richard. I could remember it like it was yesterday. We're sitting at my house around a fire, and I asked Richard if he would consider joining us full time, and I just knew that Richard was someone it just felt right that I could partner with and really needed. I think I felt like I really not only wanted but needed your assistance in getting this organization to reach its full potential.
Yeah, and I see the potential in this organization and the leadership that you and the team has provided, and I also saw that even though the company was doing so good and operates so well, there's so much low-hanging fruit and opportunity.
Yeah.
And that we're kind of living beneath our potential, and I'm just excited to be honored really to be a part of it and to help in any way that I can.
Well, here we are. We're introducing you to the organization, and you've officially been here for a little over 3 months. But boy, I tell you, we've been hard at work.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
We've been really hard at work, and the needle's moving.
Yes.
Right?
Very, very much.
The needle is moving. And so when you talk about driver retention, and here this is our number one focus in the organization, is to align ourselves and make sure that our drivers that are out there are being supported and they're earning a great living for themselves and their families, that they're safe, and we're helping them to be successful by removing any obstacles that come across their way. And I tell you, it's seeing it happen over the last few months. We could talk about the results, but we are now hitting weeks in the 70s as far as turnover results, right?
Yeah.
And those are darn respectable results in this industry, and we're going to get even better.
Yeah, for sure. Coming from a very high level.
Yeah.
Right. And just getting started in a lot of ways. We really recognize we got to play all the keys to the piano to be successful, and not only retention is improving, but also safety.
Yep.
Our miles per driver per week.
Yep.
Just the cargo, and I think people are seeing and believing that we not only can hang on to the drivers, but we can clear their path and help them and their families be extremely successful. And so everybody's jumping on board here, and the results have been wonderful to date. And the great thing is we're just getting started on those countermeasures or those initiatives that you brought up. So
yeah, we are just getting started. And I want to touch on. There's a lot of people that will be watching this, and including our drivers, and in really making the driver the focus here. And we've had a lot of growth in the organization and so forth. And in terms of backing up what we say, one tough decision that we've made is, we don't like doing this. We're still a really, huge fleet and so forth, and and what have you. But hey, we are prioritizing the drivers and their utilization and making sure above growth and the size of the fleet.
that's right.
And so during what, I think in my 30 years in the industry, I think the environment we're in right now is one of the most challenging times in terms of demand for our services with the customer. Right now, this industry is cyclical, right? It moves the pendulum moves in one direction and then it swings hard in the other direction. And fortunately, we're aligned with, well, I'll tell you, a tremendous number of incredible customers that are very loyal to Hirschbach and JCT.
Yep.
And great partners. And a lot of our customers, volumes are down for them. They're in a tough environment as we go through this uncertainty in the economy and so forth. But this too will pass. And I'll tell you that our focus has been on the drivers. And I'm so proud of the fact that we've not just maintained utilization, but we've seen huge improvements in the miles of our drivers. And we've done that by getting out there and hustling, finding more freight. In some cases, we're taking some freight from some brokers that we wouldn't traditionally do. We're being disciplined on the size of our fleet and not adding equipment to the fleet that the demand isn't there for. And, I think that's certainly been one important initiative we've done. But, talk about others. Why do you think the driver retention has improved so much in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I think, and that's a great question. I think the lights have been turned on, so to speak, and really using data to make good decisions.
Yeah.
With customers, with lanes, with the network, in making it possible for drivers to utilize their hours wisely and take home an even bigger paycheck.
Yeah.
But I think it's aligning all of our processes so that the driver can be successful. This company is really high service to the customer. Customers love Hirschbach and JCT, which is wonderful to see. And that helps us bring on more freight, the right freight, for the drivers. And so I think it starts with bringing on the right business for them and then supporting them from every aspect. And I think everybody has cleared some of the obstacles in their path to be able to support the driver.
Yeah.
We have, drivers being called and talked to, and we're listening, and we recognize where we have gaps. We've got people that are there to care, and kind of clear the path of the driver. And I think it's easier for them to be part of the organization. than it has in the past.
Yeah.
And they can see a career path, and they want to be part of something that has a vision that they can buy into. And this, I've heard the Hirschbach rocket before,
Yeah.
And this really is a rocket. There's just so much goodness that this organization has, and I think the drivers are starting to understand that. I think it was under-communicated.
Yeah.
It's always been there, but it may not have been communicated properly. And so now they're part of that process. They can see what they actually can do for their families, which is so cool. And I've seen drivers come into your office, and you talk to them, long-term, short-term drivers. They respect the organization because they feel a part of something bigger than themselves. It's not just sitting in the truck driving. They know where this rocket's headed, and it's great that dot's been connected and they want to be part of it.
Yeah, you certainly, I could feel it, and there are different times and, over the 25-year journey at Hirschbach where that feeling is sometimes it's really intense, and and you could just sense that something special is about ready to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other periods of time maybe you don't quite have that feeling as much for whatever reason, but I could tell you right now I have that sense in my stomach that oh my gosh, this is about to get really, really, really exciting out there.
Yeah, and I think when you walk up and down the halls or you talk to people, you go to Oklahoma JCT, you can feel it and see it and sense it in how people are talking to each other, how they're supporting the customer, the shipper, the driver. It's all connected, and people are starting to see that.
Yeah, they really are, and that's why I'm getting excited, because I'm seeing other people, getting excited, and this, you talk about people, about change and so forth. Change can be very scary for a lot of people, and we've got these two great organizations that have been coming together over the last 12 months, right?
Wow.
And that's not easy for everyone, but the change is going to happen, right? It needs to happen, right?
The world is changing very fast.
Yeah, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Hang on to your seats, and our commitment, and you can speak to yourself, but our commitment to, as leaders of this organization, is to make sure that everyone understands we're just not here to do change for change, right? The change is in the spirit and the intent of making this an even better organization that's more efficient, that provides even a higher level of service, that has even higher engagement with all of our team members and belief in what we're doing and so forth. And I think as individuals and as an organization, we want to get better, right?
Yeah. I think we're focused on what we call the 6 rights.
Yeah.
Really getting the right people with the right skills, doing the right work, and having a structure, the right structure, with now the 2 combined organizations, to be able to help people offer their very best efforts, and really focusing on the right rewards, because we're all working for our families, right? And making sure we have the right resources. The equipment here is awesome. It's very new. It's the latest and greatest, great technology. And then when you think about having those resources, then you got to have the right decisions being made by the people closest to the work, like you just mentioned, to take care of the driver, and then the right processes to make sure they're aligned. And I also love how people really love goals, and are using scorecards, so that we can get better, for our drivers, for our customers. And if we can help both of those 2 groups win, the whole organization will be healthy.